Hey there, Marcus Hutzel here, and in this video I wanted to talk about this filter set for my camera lenses that I received from K&F Concept. This is the K&F Concept Nano-K series filter set. It includes 3 filters, a UV protective filter, a fixed ND4 Neutral Density Filter, and a circular polarizing filter. It includes a carrying case and 3 microfiber cleaning cloths. I'll unbox it in just a sec, but K&F Concept is a brand that I found on Amazon a few years ago. I have a few of their products, including my favorite camera tripod out of all of my camera tripods currently. And I also have a few of their other lens filters as well, and I've been very happy with their products. And I'm actually using their 1/8 shrink diffusion filter right now on this shot, so you're getting a little bit of that glow or bloom of a few of the lights in my background, and it softens the skin a little bit too. But just to note, the diffusion filter does not come in the Nano-K set that I'm talking about. I just wanted to point out that I actually did already own and use some of their filters. Anyway, K&F Concept products to me seem to sit in that middle ground between the super expensive and the super cheap gear. K&F Concept products struck me as being a great balance between quality and budget, and that's exactly how I feel with the K&F Concept products that I own, and that's also exactly where I sit most of the time with my personal photography and videography needs, somewhere in the middle of needing good products with good build quality and not breaking the bank. And the K&F Concept products have been just that in my experience. So based on some of that info, K&F Concept reached out to me to see if I wanted to talk about this 3 filter kit they offer. And again, because I've had good experience with their products, I said sure. And just to note, K&F Concept did send me this filter kit for free for review. No money changed hands. I do get to keep the filter set, but all of the opinions in this video are mine and mine alone. Now, I don't use a lot of filters overall, but this is a decent little kit they offer that might find a place in your camera bag, so I wanted to talk about it. Unboxing, we can see it comes in a nice small package. And as we pull everything out of the box, we can see the included carrying case and 3 sealed microfiber cloths. We'll come back to those in just a second. The included case has a handsome gray fabric design with brown trim. I'm not sure if it's real leather, but hey, it looks pretty good to me. And it has a Velcro closure to keep it secure. It's a fold-out style, as you can see here, and it has some interior padding on each layer to pad the filters during transport. And it has individual slots for each filter. Each filter is also shipped in individually protective sleeves. And here's the UV filter. Next is the ND4 Neutral Density Filter. And last is the circular polarizing filter, which of course the polarizing outer part of the filter spins around the base to be able to change the orientation of the polarizer. And I'll demonstrate that here in just a bit. And the filters all slide nicely back into their slots, and the slots are also an elastic material, and therefore they stretch so you can more easily get the filters in and out when needed. The case feels very nice and I like the look, and if we flip it around, there's a small slot in the back as well, and if we open one of those sealed microfiber cloths, they're slim and very soft, as they should be, and you could use that rear slot to store one of those microfiber cloths if you wanted to. All of this, the filters, the case, and the 3 cloths, is all a very nice little package, really nice case, all for only about $40. And it's available in almost any filter size that you would need. I have the 67mm set, as most of my lenses have 67mm threads. All 3 of the Nano-K filters have standard 18-layer coating. They're made of glass, not resin, which apparently some less expensive, cheaper filters are actually made of resin, which is new information for me, but these are what K&F Concept calls their Japanese AGC glass. So they're all glass, so that's good. Now, these filters are not waterproof, so be sure to read the fine details if you buy through Amazon, because some of the images show that they are waterproof, but in the description it says that they are not waterproof nor water resistant. Although right here we can see it says the coatings themselves are water resistant, but the filter itself won't keep water from getting around its seams and into your lens. Although I really never assumed that any of my camera equipment is waterproof, so just be wise about it. And again, it comes with that nice carrying case and those 3 individually sealed microfiber cloths. So let's look at each filter a little more closely. The first filter is a UV filter, which just acts mostly as a protective filter for your lens to keep dust and other stuff from entering the front of like zoom lenses, which can happen from time to time. Dust can get in those. And of course, having a UV filter on the front of your lens means that if you bump, scrape, or accidentally let your camera maybe, I don't know, slide around your shoulder while on a neck strap and the lens bumps a table or, hey, a rock if you're hiking, then it's possible that the filter can take that abuse, thereby protecting the actual more expensive glass of the lens itself. And I've experienced this firsthand. A few years ago, I was changing lenses and I dropped this Tamron 17-28 lens. It hit the ground pretty hard, but when I picked it up, the only thing that had broken was the protective UV filter, not this one, so my lens was just fine. So UV filters have proven to be beneficial for me in those types of scenarios as protection for the lens. Now, some UV filters can produce additional flaring in your photos and videos if you have a strong light source coming straight at the lens. And you can see an example of this here from this shot pointing straight at the sun. Now, this shot is where I'm using a budget, cheaper UV filter, not the K&F Concept one for this particular shot, but I used that filter for a while until I noticed this strange flaring. But here's the same shot with the same light source, literally about 10 seconds later, using the K&F Concept Nano-K UV filter. And the K&F UV filter also produces a similar additional flare, but I think the K&F UV filter controls this flaring a bit better than the cheaper filter that I was using, as you can see on this side-by-side shot. But the K&F UV filter still produces some additional flaring versus having no filter at all on the lens. And here is that same shot with no UV filter on my Tamron 28-75 lens. And here's a shot of all three. No filter at all on the top left, the K&F Concept Nano-K UV filter on the top right, and my old budget Vivitar UV filter on the bottom. So just be aware that almost any additional piece of glass in front of your lens may have some effect on your image that you don't want, especially when you've got a strong point light source, and it can just create these strange flares at times, so just be aware. The next filter is a circular polarizing filter, and these types of filters can do some really cool stuff and can come in very handy on bright sunny days when you've got a very reflective surface like glass or water, maybe like a pond or a lake, where the glare from those surfaces may detract from your shot. And a circular polarizer can actually remove that glare from your camera even seeing it, and at times almost completely getting rid of any glare and allow you to see through that reflective surface that you may not be able to otherwise because of those reflections. So obviously, once installed on the front of your lens, the polarizing filter will actually continually rotate, allowing you to line up the polarizing lines of the filter with different surfaces depending on your camera's orientation. Here, it's best to just show you this. So here we have a shot of my fish pond in the backyard, and you can see the reflection off the top of the water. And you can kind of see that there are some large goldfish under the surface, but the reflection is obscuring them. But if I just turn the polarizer, the reflections pretty much disappear, and now we can see through the top of the water and get a great shot of these fish. Honestly, kind of amazing, and it's not special about K&F Concept circular polarizers, that's just what a circular polarizer does. Let's see it again. We have a reflection, we turn the polarizer, and now we see through the water to the fish. And here's a really cool example of this really reflective window where I was able to turn the polarizer and basically see through that reflection. Or maybe it's a reflective surface behind your talent. Here, let me show you that as well. All right, so let's say you were doing an interview maybe in front of a window like the one you see behind me, and maybe there was something in the reflection back there that you didn't want to see. If you have a circular polarizer, you can get rid of a little bit of that glare and therefore a little bit of the reflection of what's going on, and it will be potentially less distracting with a circular polarizer. So, circular polarizer, very handy to have around. And the last filter is a neutral density filter. It's a fixed density, it's an ND4, which signifies that it's a two-stop filter because it takes the amount of light coming into the lens down by 4 times, which equates to 2 f-stops. And I figured I'd just go outside on a bright sunny day and show you how I would use this. All right, so here we are on a very bright sunshiny day out in the middle of this field. Now, I don't have any ND filters on the camera right now, and I have to be at f20. That's a really small hole letting in a very little amount of light because it's so bright out here. And I have to do that if I want to keep my shutter speed at 1/50th, which it's currently at. Otherwise, I'd have to crank my shutter. So if you want to stay at your 180-degree shutter rule and have a shallow depth of field, you'll have to use some sort of neutral density filter on bright days like this. Now, granted, this is only a 2-stop filter, but let's go ahead and put it on. And now we can back off our f-stop to, that's f10, but if I crank the shutter just a bit, I want to see how much I have to crank the shutter to stay at as wide of an aperture as possible. Somewhere out there. So I'm at 1/640th of a shutter speed, which depending on what you want to do may not work for your scenario. This is just a 2-stop filter. It's that ND4, which signifies that it'll take down 2 stops of light. So let's say we don't want to be at 1/640th of a second. Let's close down to 5.6 on the f-stop. And I'm at ISO 100. I'm on the lowest ISO that I can get. So let's say we want to stay at a respectable 5.6 with the lowest ISO, and I can be at 1/200th of a second. Still not exactly where a lot of people want to be on their shutter speed if they want to keep the motion blur looking a little more natural, but at least I can keep the shutter speed at much lower than 1/640th at f5.6, keep a little bit shallower depth of field than if I were back at that and let's go back to f10. Actually, let's go to f11 because that will allow us to test one thing. Remember, this is a 2-stop filter. So here we are. I was able to drop my shutter speed to 1/60th of a second at f11 ISO 100. But since this is a 2-stop filter, if we want a little bit shallower depth of field, again, f11, we're going to have a deeper depth of field. More stuff in the background is going to be in focus. Let's put this back on. And now, being 2 stops, we should be able to open back up to f5.6 and have the exact same exposure, keeping that background just a little more out of focus than f11. And you can see here behind me the difference in depth of field we get on f11 versus f5.6. So even a 2-stop neutral density filter can be handy on those bright sunny days. And ND filters can help you with photography as well. Again, let's say you're outside on a bright sunny day and you've got maybe a lens that is f1.4 and you want to stay at f1.4. This one's not. I don't have an f1.4 lens, so I can't really demonstrate this right now. But let's say you had a large aperture lens like an f1.4 on a full frame camera and it was really bright, and maybe your camera could only get up to like 1/6400th of a shutter speed and it was still overexposed. You could still take that shot using an ND filter and be able to bring your overall exposure down. So can help with photography. I use them more for video. I think that's where most people use them, but hey, they come in handy for photography as well if needed. So that's it. I wanted to thank K&F Concept for sending this filter set out to me for review. It's a very nicely packaged set with a nice case. Again, all for about $40, but I've also recently seen it on Amazon offered with some discounts where this set was only running about $33. And hopefully my testing showed you all this set is capable of, and maybe it will find a spot in your camera bag, but I'll leave that up to you. But I will also leave a link to this filter set down in the description. It is an affiliate link and absolutely helps out my channel when you use those links. So happy photographizing. Catch you next time. Later.